60 years of silence. Jacinta González, one of the 4 girls from Garabandal who witnessed extraordinary Marian apparitions between 1961 and 1965, has always spoken with extreme caution about the revelations received, respecting the silence requested by the Virgin Mary on certain aspects. But in 2021, something changed. During an interview with Catholic author José Maria Zavala, Jacinta revealed 2 details never mentioned before, and which immediately attracted the attention of those who study Marian prophecies. One concerns a specific detail about the punishment shown during the terrifying Night of Screams of 1962. Crucial information, which sheds new light on that vision. The other concerns the spiritual weapon that Jacinta personally uses against the attacks of the demon. The connection between these 2 revelations opens a completely new perspective on the spiritual battle of our times. What exactly did Jacinta see that night that made her scream so desperately? And what powerful spiritual weapon does she use daily against the evil one? If these themes are close to your heart, help us spread them. A like can do so much as can your subscription to the channel. Thank you from the heart. Zavala's interview with Jacinta begins with an apparently simple but deeply significant question. The author refers to a comment by Father Gabriele Amorth, the famous exorcist of Rome, who during an exorcism had heard the demon say, "I love it very much when marriages dissolve." Zavala asks Jacinta what she thinks about it, and her answer is enlightening. Obviously, the family at this moment is going through a great crisis because it is known that the family is the fabric that holds society together and makes it look toward God. No one more than the devil is interested in the damnation of souls. This statement by Jacinta connects directly to what Sister Lucia dos Santos, one of the visionaries of Fatima, had written in a letter to Cardinal Caffarra. The final battle between the Lord and Satan would be fought over the family. Zavala proceeds with a more personal question. Does the devil attack you much? Jacinta's answer is direct. Yes, like everyone in the world. The devil provides much confusion and also lies. He is always at work. But then comes the most powerful revelation. When she is attacked by the devil, Jacinta makes this precise announcement. The Sacred Heart of Jesus is with me. Look at it. Jacinta's weapon against the devil is simple, but most powerful. Let us make this proclamation our own. Let us write together in the comments. The Sacred Heart of Jesus is with me. Amen. To understand the power of these words, we must return to June 1961, to the beginning of the apparitions. While the other 3 girls saw the Archangel Michael, Jacinta had a different vision. She saw the Sacred Heart of Jesus. In a 1978 interview, she described that experience. Suddenly, I saw the Sacred Heart of Jesus. His gaze reached the deepest place in my heart. Although I have never seen it again, every time I remember it, I feel that infinite love. Even during the period of doubt, that vision remained alive. This is not a random formula, but connects to a spiritual protection tool of particular importance, the shield of the Sacred Heart. The history of this devotion originates in the 17th century with the visions of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, to whom Jesus himself asked to spread these shields as a tangible sign of his protection. At the center of the shield, we find the powerful inscription, "Cease. The heart of Jesus is with me," a declaration that is not only prayer, but also proclamation of faith in divine protection. It is interesting to note that in 1870, Pope Pius IX officially recognized the spiritual value of the shield, declaring it directly inspired by heaven and conferring upon it a permanent blessing, which makes any further priestly blessing superfluous. It is in the small village of Garabandal in Spain that one of the most terrifying visions in the history of Marian apparitions occurred. It was 1962, a month before the miracle of visible communion, when the 4 girls received the revelation of the future punishment. What happened that night shocked the entire town. The girls, in ecstasy, began to emit screams so heartbreaking that all those present were seized by terror. They indicated that no one should approach, that they should not be seen. Their voices echoed in the night with a pain that seemed to come from hell itself. Jacinta, interviewed by Zavala, reveals something completely unprecedented, never said before in 60 years. At the time, I didn't know it, but we were crying for these children, and I realized that these were for the aborted children. Obviously, we knew nothing about this at the time in Spain, but now I think of those children. They were surely the millions of innocents who were not born. Poor innocents, all those children as if thrown out the window by their mothers, and I was horrified. The worst sin in the world is to kill those poor innocents. This revelation is shocking for several reasons. First, because it directly connects the future punishment to the sin of abortion. Second, because in 1962 in Spain, abortion was practically unknown, yet the girls were crying for something they would only understand decades later. But the interview continues with an even more disturbing detail. Zavala insists, "You cried and screamed a lot for those children." And Jacinta responds, "And also for everything that our Virgin told us, more things than I can say, and that we can reveal now." The author presses on. Things that are horrible like abortion? And Jacinta's answer is definitive. Yes, but I cannot speak about them. The connection between the attack on the family and abortion is not coincidental. When Jacinta speaks of the crisis of the family as a demonic strategy, and then reveals that the screams of Garabandal were for aborted children, she is describing 2 sides of the same coin. Abortion is the most violent attack on the family. It destroys nascent life, psychologically devastates the parents, breaks the natural bond between mother and child. It is the culminating point of Satan's strategy against the family, which Sister Lucia had prophesied. Particularly significant in this context are the words of Saint Padre Pio of Pietrelcina. In the distant 1960s, long before procured abortion became legal, the Holy Friar had released a prophetic statement. One day without any abortion would be enough, and God would grant peace to the world until the end of days. In another significant episode, Father Pellegrino, Padre Pio's confrere, questioned him about his severity toward a woman to whom he had denied absolution for a procured abortion. The saint's response was illuminating and prophetic. The day when men, frightened by the economic boom, by physical damage, or by sacrifices, lose their horror of abortion will be a terrible day for humanity, because that is precisely the day when they should demonstrate their horror of it. Abortion is not only murder, but also suicide. You would understand this suicide of the human race if, with the eye of reason, you saw the beauty and joy of the earth populated with old people and depopulated of children, burned like a desert. If you reflected, then yes, you would understand the double gravity of abortion. With abortion, one always mutilates also the life of the parents. These words, spoken in the 1960s, describe exactly today's Western society. aged without children, sterile like a desert. But there is another Marian apparition that prophetically connects abortion to the persecution of the Church. On April 12, 1937, Luigina Sinapi, a young catechist, took the Daughters of Mary of her parish on pilgrimage to the Abbey of Tre Fontane in Rome. Walking in the nearby eucalyptus grove, Luigina saw in a cave small bones that seemed to her human remains of an abortion. With piety she buried them, and suddenly the Virgin Mary appeared to her, who said to her, "I will return to this place. I will use a man who today persecutes the Church, wants to kill the Pope." The Holy Mother ordered her to go to St. Peter's, where she would meet a lady who would lead her to her cardinal brother and to bring him the message that soon he would become the new Pope. Luigina followed the instructions and met Marchioness Elisabetta Pacelli, sister of Cardinal Eugenio Pacelli, who would become Pope Pius XII less than 2 years later. This episode prefigured the apparition of the Virgin of Revelation to Bruno Cornacchiola, fierce anti-Catholic, who on April 12, 1947, exactly 10 years later, had a Marian apparition in the same place. During this apparition, the Virgin Mary showed Bruno a black cloth, a priest's cassock, and next to it a broken cross, saying, "Behold, this is the sign that the Church will suffer, will be persecuted, broken. This is the sign that my children will strip themselves. You be strong in faith." This prophetic sign indicates a period of purification and persecution for the Church. The broken cross symbolizes weakened and under attack faith, while the abandoned cassock represents priests who abandon their vocation. It is significant that both of these events are connected to abortion. Luigina finds and buries the remains of an unborn child, an act of respect for human life, which is immediately recognized by the Virgin. 10 years later, in the same place, Bruno receives a warning about the future persecution of the Church, creating a direct connection between contempt for human life and the suffering that awaits the faithful. Also in Medjugorje, the Queen of Peace has spoken explicitly about abortion. In the message of September 1st, 1992, she said, "Abortion is a grave sin. You must help women who have had abortions very much. Help them understand that it is a sin. Invite them to ask forgiveness from God and to go to confession. God is ready to forgive everything since His mercy is infinite. Dear children, be open to life and protect it." This message confirms the gravity of the sin, but also emphasizes the infinite mercy of God. It does not condemn women who have had abortions, but invites them to conversion and to confession. The Virgin Mary, in all her apparitions, never comes to condemn, but always to save, to offer a way back toward God. The road we are traveling is taking us straight to punishment. This sin that cries vengeance to heaven multiplies daily. Much reparation is necessary for how much sin is spreading. Write in the comments if you will offer a mass, a rosary, or a fast in reparation. Sharing this concrete commitment will create a chain of spiritual reparation that can still change the course of events. The spiritual battle is intense. We can use the shield of the Sacred Heart to protect our home, putting it on doors and windows. Pedro Regis has also indicated another protection to us in one of his latest catecheses. If you want to know more, click the video that has appeared on your screen. May God always illuminate your path. See you in the next video.